How is it possible that people cannot work?
That's a real sentence. Somebody actually typed it into the chat of a webinar I was sitting at last week. There was no setup. There was no punctuation. It was literally just that. How is it possible that people cannot work?
That's a whole mood of the last 2 years in one line.
And right under that comment, somebody else wrote, people age 55 and above have a very hard time finding work. And further down, people started asking about the ones who've run out of unemployment or those who got pushed into driving for DoorDash because the benefits don't cover rent. So this was real people in a chat on a Tuesday trying to make sense of a job market that keeps telling two opposite things at once.
And the headline version of that story is always the same these days, it appears. AI is coming for your job. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that's the story everybody's been sold. So today we're going to do something different.
Welcome back to The Broken Handle. I'm Will.
And I'm JB, and I'd like to welcome any new listeners and those who still follow us. I appreciate you listening.
That's a great point, JB. We really need to promote our show as far as like where they can find us. We're going to forget. We have the last 2 episodes. Can you go ahead and just give us a quick spin up on that?
Just as a reminder, it's thebrokenhandle.com. That's where we post all of our episodes and our content. And if you want to follow us on a social, it's Broken Handle Pod on all social platforms where all the links get posted to all that same data.
The Broken Handle is for informational purposes only. Nothing here is legal, financial, or career advice.
Excellent. Thanks, JB. Today is a 2-part show. The first half, JB is going to walk us through.
So let me just go ahead and set up the first half. I sat with the data from a labor economist, Ron Hetrick. He's the principal economist over at Lightcast, and they are a company that reads billions of real job postings for a living. And the picture he paints is not the doom picture. It's calmer than that. And honestly, it's more useful because once you see where the work actually is, the panic starts to look misplaced. Here's something that reframed that whole conversation for me. When it feels like jobs are disappearing, our instinct so far in 2026 and in the headlines as well is to jump up and blame technology in some manner. But according to Hetrick, the bigger story isn't robots at all. It's the fact the country is getting old fast. And that's something we touched on slightly, and this will shed more light in that area.
I'm laughing inside because I'm like, who are you telling, bro? I feel ancient in our industry currently. I feel like every time I go into a room now, I'm always the senior guy, not by position, by age, unfortunately. Can you give me a number?
Since the pandemic, what they were saying, about 10 million people left the workforce, meaning they're not working and they're not even looking. And then that 10 million people, Hetrick was saying, roughly 88% are over the age of 55.
88%. That's mind-blowing. So these aren't laid off like 30-year-olds. These are people who are actually retiring
and staying retired. We made a joke about it, me breaking my golf clubs last time. Now we're seeing the data. It's factual. There was this theory that a bunch of them would unretire when the prices went up. The data is saying no, and it just didn't happen. They didn't come back. They left and they're just gone. And at that same time, the baby boomers, they're aging into Social Security so fast that by Hetrick's count, we added 8 million retirees in the last 5 years. So put this into perspective, the previous 8 million took 19 years.
That's a pretty astounding number. You know what's weird though too is I feel like the people staying retiring sounds funny. Like when you said that, it's like, why wouldn't you stay retired though, JB?
Cost of living, that's what pushes people back into the workforce. But outside of that, since the workforce is shrinking, that flips how you should be reading everything else.
I feel like if there's less people taking jobs from the top end, that opens up more jobs like that are senior positions for the middle ground, and then the entry level can move up. What are your thoughts on that?
So your question is great. Like, how is it good? Why is it bad? They're just looking at it from the numbers that the workforce is shrinking out from under us. But I guess the gap is if you have these people that are experienced, are the people that are left behind experienced enough to fill those roles? I don't know that answer. I haven't really researched that data point. So maybe there's a little bit of a gap there. That institutional knowledge, kind of like we talked about with COBOL and mainframe, people that are retiring and that's just walking out the door, but who's left to fill that gap if no one's really interested in those areas. But then there's also the downstream aspect of trying to automate and refine the entry level work to where we don't have all the headcounts. So that's why it's a little bit mixed, but there's other areas. That's what's great about this report it's shining light onto different areas than the tech areas that are really driving all that.
I think we're looking at it from two different sides of the same scope. So you have people that are leaving the workforce, that are retiring, that are handing off the avant-garde, like as we discussed. And then you have these people that are retiring and they want to stay retired. So in essence, they're not taking away from the job pool. Hey, man, these people are staying retired. That means there's a lot more positions that are opening up to me. I have to keep in mind that the market, that pool of retirees could potentially jump back into the pond and shrink that job force for me.
Or it creates a vacuum to where, which this report touches on, where there's going to be opportunity.
No, understand.
That's the difference. So that was one of the things that was great about this report. The economy essentially creates vacuums where people will shift to, depending on where the need is. And this is one of those reports that touches on that. Everything we identified so far, that previous 8 million took 19 years. It was a lot faster rate recently with that same number taking 5 years. And we just got to look at how we flip everything and how we read it. For example, the unemployment rate, it's been sitting around 4.3%, which is historically low. There are roughly as many jobs openings as there are unemployed people. And we've identified that in some other reports. So it's basically 1-to-1. But on paper, that's a strong market. It just doesn't feel strong. And there's a reason for that. But we'll get deep into it as we get into this podcast.
So from this perspective of the report that we just read, it would appear that the workforce is just shrinking out from under us based off of this purview.
Correct. So yeah, so the market's technically strong. And I know some people might not be agreeing with this right now. There might be some people yelling at us like, why is it so messed up? And you're allowed to yell at your phone if you want to. It's okay.
I encourage you to yell at your AI and agent all the time, just for emotional support, just because it makes you feel better about yourself.
True words. All right. The market being fine, they're reporting in aggregate, right, the whole market being fine doesn't mean it's fine for you. And that's what we wanted to highlight. So you can calm down on the yelling now. The doom narrative is really the one that says the whole economy is collapsing because of AI. This report is showing that narrative is being oversold. And usually it's being oversold by someone who's trying to sell something. We'll try to put that in the back burner because there's a little bit more about how that matters later on in this podcast.
All right, I'll be honest with you. I'm over here scratching my head. So if the work isn't gone, where is it? Because that's the question that actually pays the bills, JP.
This is a part that I want to talk about the most. When Hetrick looks at the country, what the country is actually trying to hire is not what the internet is thinking. The number one most posted job in 49 out of 50 states, except for Utah for some reason.
I blame the Mormons.
We just started a riot. Great.
Jeez, now we're getting canceled again. Oh, I love you, Mormon people. I love you. I do.
But it's registered nurse. My wife is an RN. So think about that. The numbers we just talked about, let's put it together. We had a bigger boom of people retiring and leaving, and the biggest requirement is a registered nurse.
49 out of the 50 states, that's the number one job. I didn't see this metric coming. And honestly, I don't even know what job I would have thought would have been the most sought after or fillable in any state. I would think, and again, maybe I'm being foolish here, but I would have thought waste management, like trash can delivery or something to that effect, because I feel like in every state needs somebody to take their garbage, or even a plumber for that matter. So it's very unique that it's nurse.
And we'll get into that a little bit, and you'll start to see the picture and how it's painted. So yes, correct. 49 out of 50. And right behind nursing, there's home health aides, nursing assistants, truck drivers, retail and customer service, and maintenance workers, what you just touched on.
Yeah.
So Hetrick has this line. He wrote a whole paper called Who's Going to Do the Work? And the point is somebody has to actually take care of the population and keep the country running. That's the demand. That's where the vacuum of the economy is taking place, where everyone thought it was IT, everybody aged, everybody retired. The vacuum is now going over there to take care of that population and keep everybody else running that's still working. So it's care work, it's trades, it's driving, it's service. That's where the value in the jobs are.
When I'm looking at these titles, one of the things that's kind of standing out to me is a good majority don't need a 4-year degree. Is that weirdly alarming to you? The fact that we have so many people that are pursuing degrees to try to get that better job, and then you look at these jobs and you're like, wow, these are the most sought after.
Yeah, you have the electricians, they have journeymen when they start out and they work up, welders, same concept. There's certifications and all the training they have to do, but there's not an actual educational program saying, here's how you run your welder or anything like that. This is a skill trade. And that's why a lot of these don't. Now, in some areas with nursing, they have to have a BSN or something to that effect, or higher if they're getting into management, but they don't. And that's the great irony of this whole moment. For the last 20 years, everybody's been telling everybody the safe path is to get a bachelor's degree. Meanwhile, the jobs sitting open, the ones nobody's filling, are largely ones that don't require one. So Hetrick's data shows that since 2019, the number of workers without a bachelor's has actually shrunk by about 3 million.
The first thing that I think about this stat is I'm wondering if it has to do with the salary that's demanded for those roles, and if people are actually attracted to making less or more salary based off those facts. Now, granted, I'm not saying that these jobs are any less important, because truly they are. They're what drives America currently. They're staples that keep this country moving. But I'm wondering if that has to do with an economic or socioeconomic impact. What do you think?
It can, but then it opens up the door. You don't have to be the hands-on individual contributor. You don't have to be the welder. You could be the person who owns the welding company and hires the correct welders and pays them well, and you make money as a business person, an entrepreneur.
No, that does make sense. I'm kind of looking at it from different purviews.
Yeah.
It looks like the shortage is on hands work. Stuff you can't do over a Zoom call, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you got to be on site, stuff you literally cannot do on Zoom at all. I can't weld your trailer together on Zoom. It'd be interesting because if you did, you'd be a billionaire, but let me know how to do it. But
that would be pretty awesome. I'm like, hey, bro, can you just weld this for me? They just shoot through my monitor. It'd be fantastic.
Right. But he made this point that stuck with me. He said that you can't roll a computer into a room and have it say, I'm going to lift you up and help you breathe. Only a nurse can do that. So paramedics are EMTs, are firefighters, the cardiovascular techs, the person at the bedside. Those jobs need a human in the room. And none of those are bad careers that I just listed. That's a small bucket. That's a drop in all this skills trade, healthcare, and all that. So when Lightcast lines up the jobs AI's claims it can do against jobs that actually project to grow the most, they barely overlap. So the growth is in caring for people. Again, go back to that window of 5 years, a larger group of people retiring. So they have to have all the support structure around them.
Now, this makes me smile. It's beautiful, actually. The most future-proof work is the most human work.
It literally is, and it really is. That's what's great about it. And the part that gives me hope for somebody who's stuck, like you don't have to leap from nothing into nursing, for example. There's this concept Lightcast used. It's called adjacency. We touched on that a little bit. Basically, what jobs sit next to the one you want. So you can step across instead of starting over. They pointed out, for example, that there are something like 13 plus million people in the country doing food prep, for example. Similar physical effort, often worse pay, but flexible schedules. This is a giant pool of people that can step toward better paying care work. And Lightcast has seen that happen. People go from doing prep and that physical aspect to something adjacent into the care work.
I think, too, is some of the best workers are the kind that can adapt when they're put in specific positions. Nobody wants to hire a person that's only going to do the thing they hired them to do. Going to your adjacency point, it's understanding the roles around you and being able to pivot in and out of those roles, but also getting that subject matter expertise so you can do all the roles.
Yeah. In their own data, the people who often move into nursing assistant and personal aid roles are former secretaries, admins, receptionists, and customer service reps. Those are real people making that exact jump. So when somebody says, I can never do that job, the data is quietly saying you actually can, and people like you already are. So open up your mindset, use OSINT, try to target something that's adjacent to your skill set and see where that all lands.
Yeah. I want to push on that, though, because just rescale has become this thing that people say that means nothing. Okay, into what and how and with what money?
Totally fair. And Hetrick has the best answer to that I've heard from that webinar. And it's a story. He said, go back to the housing boom in the 2000s. The country suddenly needed hundreds of thousands of loan processors. You don't go to college to become a loan processor, just like you don't go to college to become a welder. So companies took ordinary people and trained them and basically manufactured the whole workforce out of thin air. Again, the economy needs and the vacuum of where the people need to go.
I'm going to step to a tangent to the left of this just for a moment because I want to hit on a point about having programs that offer to train people. When I'm looking around for jobs, I'm seeing mentor programs that are like nonprofits that are free for people to go to. And yet I find in most cases, people aren't utilizing these programs that will offer a retrain for free. What do you think is holding people back from making that decision, JB? And then we'll come back to the housing market.
I think there's just uncertainty. They're probably looking at it as a change and the starting over. That's what we're trying to bring to light. Find something that's adjacent so you're not actually starting over. So you've taken a lateral move from your skill set but you're taking a potential bump in raise and pay and benefits, doing something in a different industry.
Change is scary for a lot of people. I know it is for me. Going away from things that I don't do or moving into a role that I'm not completely familiar with is often extremely intimidating to me. So I can see it, but at the same time, I have to think to myself, if I'm in a place where I don't want to be and there's a place that I want to go, I'm going to have to make that change to span that gap. What do you think?
That's life. You got to adapt. You got to work through change. We provided a lot of tools that are aligning to all this. The OSINT, right. We talked about the 5 principles of changing your perspective in life and how you want to reach certain goals. I think everything that we've spoken to so far in the previous episodes is aligning to give people that toolkit to be able to make something like this happen in their life where they can do a lateral move and then improve their life by more money or benefits, whatever it is.
Let's put a pin in that one because I think I want to do an episode that touches on the psychological impact of change to people and why it's so daunting. But I'm gonna come back as the digital conductor that I am. I'm gonna bring us back to the train tracks, brother. So going back to your previous theses, we were talking about the housing market crashing.
So before that, there was the housing boom that was in Hetrick's story. And then right after that, the market crashed. So think about that. When the market boomed, they needed people to do loan processing and they trained all that workforce. Then it crashed. So now there's a desperate need for the opposite, people to handle all the defaulting mortgages. So think about that. So those loss mitigation specialists, right? Those are the people who had to handle all that. So what did the companies do? They took those same loan processors during the boom and they just retrained them into this new role as loss mitigation specialists. His exact framing was, we created the workforce out of nothing. They weren't there before, we created them. And that's true. And that's what we're starting to see again.
So the thing everybody's panicking about, AI is going to basically force a massive retraining. We've literally done this before many times over and over again. So I don't know why people are so freaked out by this. What do you think the panic is about?
Again, touched on it just a second ago, change, but that's the whole point. It's just something we've already done before. And I think calling that out and identifying that is great. That's why I really like this webinar from Lightcast. Hetrick, he said people keep pretending that what's happening now has never happened, but it has over and over. And the tools change. The human ability to learn a new tool doesn't. And we talked about the ingenuity and drive that people have to keep learning and retraining. And that connects to something we talked about, the old script. That's applying, getting hired, claiming someone else's ladder. That's broken. So this reskilling is the same muscle as self-direction. It's saying, I'm going to look at where the need is and move toward it instead of waiting for permission.
There was a piece earlier you said you wanted to come back to about why it feels so much worse than the numbers.
Yeah. This is it. Hetrick's view is that we massively oversupply the economy with one specific kind of worker, people with business, finance, and computer degrees. There are way more of them than there are openings. And that's where we're getting a lot of that AI stuff coming from. And those folks are also the most online, the most active on LinkedIn, and most likely to post, I've applied to 400 jobs and heard nothing, which we have seen numerous times. So the loudest voices in the job market conversation are coming from the single most oversaturated corner of the market. Again, emphasis on corner of the market, not the entire market. And the rest of us absorb their stress as if it's the whole economy. So that's what's great about this piece. We're trying to get that noise of that corner yelling and screaming out. And that's why I really like this report from Hetrick.
Nah, this seems very extremely informative. Again, when you said there's that guy that's yelling about applying to 400 jobs, we touched on this in previous episodes. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Now, granted, I get it. The job market can be extremely frustrating. Trust me, I completely understand. I'm so empathetic to that. But the worst thing you can do is create your digital persona in a negative manner so your employers see that you're complaining about not finding work. Then they imply that negativity towards the role that you might be applying. So please don't do that. I encourage you not to. If you're having frustration, do it in a professional manner. Remember, when you post, that is your digital footprint. So always control what the public sees and conduct yourself professionally.
Correct. Great advice.
One of the other things that I've noticed about what you just said is the home healthcare aide who got hired last week is not posting a LinkedIn essay writing about it.
Exactly. That demand is quiet and the frustration is loud. And once you see that, the loud version stops running your life.
All right. But we can't do a whole episode in 2026 and not deal with AI head on. So is it taking the jobs or not? I'm a little confused at this point because I feel like on one thing you're saying it's shrinking. On the other, you're saying there's advantages. On the other, ton of nursing jobs. On the other side, there's so many quantifiable variables here. Can you give me some insight?
Here comes the yelling and rioting is when I say this. And even Hetrick said it. The answer is, it's complicated. And then he actually uncomplicates it.
Of course he did. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he? Thanks, Hetrick. Your report's been awesome up to this point. Why can't you see into one of those mirrored balls and tell us our future, please?
Yeah. Job status is complicated. All right, I move on.
No, I love you, Hendrik. I love all the information provided because it's really good. But I was hoping you could answer all of my problems.
Just the job was not the relationship one. So.
Well, I painted on my wall from the last time. I'm still living on the couch for that. So, all right. I digress. Take me back, Jamie.
All right. So he complicated it. First, when a company announces layoffs because of AI, he says, check two things. Did that company overhire 2 or 3 years ago? And that's something we're starting to see pop up is the overhire from COVID. And the other part is, are they even growing right now? We've touched on that a lot. Year over year growth is the company firing people. Are they truly hiring people? And because AI has become a very convenient word for we hired too many people in 2021 and we're correcting, that's just a smoke and mirrors aspect. So a lot of what gets blamed on the robots is just a hangover from the boom.
Yeah, I read a story yesterday actually about this where it was Zuckerberg was talking to his people because he conducted a whole bunch more layoffs.
Yeah.
And he literally said this. We overcompensated from the COVID pandemic and we hired more than what we needed. And now we have to correct the ship. We have to put it on course. Now, there was a little bit of a controversy there because some people were like, bro, you're making $200 billion a year and you just laid off a whole bunch of people. So how do you expect them to take this as an honest apology when you're not being cut, but we are?
That's the hard part of being leadership in the face of a business like that. I applaud him for being honest, unlike everybody else that's probably hiding behind the word AI. And It's a hard pill to swallow because you're looking at it at the numbers aspect, but he's the boss. He's the visionary. Wherever he wants to grow that business, that's his. He only really has to answer to the stakeholders. No offense to anybody, but that's the reality of any business.
I just get tired of seeing this AI layoff headline.
Yeah.
I feel like more and more CEOs are just coming to that conclusion, but they don't want to admit it, saying we overshot.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately often correct. But secondly, where AI is actually showing up, that's tech industries, which tech and software is the one field that already has surplus of people and is already doing layoffs. Like we touched on, we see it in the news headlines all the time. Meanwhile, the places with real shortages, healthcare, care work, retail, the trades, they barely use it. So the technology is concentrated where it's least needed to solve a shortage and absent where we need most help.
Bro, like everybody on this show right now, I just want to know, what about the actual robots? Like the humanoid robots. Look, I want to see them at stocking shelves. I want them to park my car. I want them to make me a salad, fold my clothes, not paint on my wall with motivational messages. That's what I want.
Unless it's one of those cool ones that can do a roundhouse and knock you down, like a guy, I think, in China. That was pretty interesting to see that CEO get knocked down by a robot.
The fact that he wanted his robot to kick his ass the first thing that's the first opportunity he had. I don't know. There's a deeper message there that I think we're missing here.
It's called commitment to your product.
My apologies for the profanity. I think that's the first time we've cussed on the show, so I'll try not to do that again.
And that's why I mark it as explicit in the event of us being normal humans and saying a F word or something. But Hetrick pointed out the orders for those humanoid robots, they haven't even cracked 90,000. So that's not much. And even if those 90,000 came into the workforce somehow, that's still a drop in the bucket. Despite the headlines promising millions, there's just not enough. And it's still in proof of concept, essentially. But here's the kicker. Lightcast projects basically zero net growth in robotics technicians and engineers through 2034. So that's interesting. There's zero net growth for people in this area that's supposed to be taking over everything. So how does that work? So think about what that means. You can't run a robot army if there's nobody to build and fix the robots. The demographic problem eats the robot dream.
So the move isn't to panic. It isn't to ignore it, though.
Correct. The move is patience. And Hetrick was blunt about that in the webinar. He said that the early adopters who rush it tend to fail, and the patient companies tend to win. So we talked about first mover advantages and make sure you do the right steps, the patience behind all that. There's nothing in history that says whoever adopts a technology first wins. What wins is doing it right. So moving into it as a first advantage mover and then actually doing it right. And so those are the two components for anything like that to be successful. The line of his I keep coming back to, the one I would put on the wall, again, maybe just as a note, not as painting, not suggesting that again. He said what we should want from AI is for it to take the worst, hardest parts of the hardest to fill jobs, to make those jobs more attractive, not obsolete.
So if I'm understanding you, what we're trying to do here is just make the job more attractive, not obsolete. That's the opposite of how it's being sold.
Completely the opposite. So if AI took the most miserable 30% of a home health aide's day, you might actually be able to fill that role. That's a version of this future worth building toward, not replacing the people we can't even find and helping the people we desperately need.
I like all these points you're bringing up. And before we shift gears, that webinar ended on something, didn't it?
It did. And at the very end, somebody asked Hetrick for his single piece of advice. And this is an economist. He's reviewing billions of job postings. He's briefed Congress. He has the whole resume. His answer was completely human. He said, you lose the human touch, you've lost everything. So increase the number of interactions you have with people. Don't decrease them.
That's the guy with all the data telling you the answer isn't in the data? I'm confused.
The work the country needs most is the work that requires you, present, adaptable, and in the room. The handle everywhere else is broken. We're not sitting here pretending it isn't, but the way through has always been the same. Find where the real need is and move toward it.
So here's where I want to grab the wheel for a minute, because everything you just said is hopeful. The work is real. It's reachable. You don't need permission. And I want to make sure people can actually go after it with confidence.
Go on.
So we just told a few thousand people to go open themselves up, apply widely, try a new field, take the remote gig. And I want them to do that exactly. The only thing I add is a little bit of street smarts, so that when you're out there applying, you can spot the handful of bad actors instantly and spend your energy on the real opportunities, which is almost all of them.
I love that framing because that's the truth of it. The overwhelming majority of employers and postings out there are real people trying to fill real jobs. There is a small slice that isn't. And the good news is genuinely good news is that they're easy to spot once you know the moves.
Think of it like learning to read a room. It doesn't make you suspicious of everyone. It makes you more relaxed because you're not worried anymore. So let's hand people that confidence, a few simple habits, and you can apply it to anything without second guessing yourself.
Perfect. Same rules as always. Calm, useful, and on your side. Let's give them the playbook.
All right, I want to kick this off with a confession. When I first started digging into this data, I expected it to come out with completely rattled. Great, I can't even apply for a job without getting my identity outsourced to a beach in Cabo. But honestly, I came away feeling way better. Once you see how these operations actually run, they're shockingly clumsy. They're like a bad movie villain. They all run in the exact same 3 plays. If you learn these tells, you can shut them down before they even get off the ground.
And that's the headline. You are not walking into a minefield. You're walking into a job market that's overwhelmingly full of real employers with a few con artists running predictable tricks at the edge. Learn the tricks once and you get to relax.
Exactly. Think of it like checking the ladder's footing. Is it solid before you climb on it? It's not paranoia. It's just physics. Now, I do have to drop big numbers so nobody waves this off. According to the Federal Trade Commission, they reported losses to scams ballooned from $90 million in 2020 to over $500 million in 2024. JB, what do you think of that? Holy smokes.
Yeah, that's pretty alarming. But here's the empowering way to read that number. It's climbing because almost nobody knows the 3 or 4 habits we're about to give you. The defenses are simple, and most of these are completely avoidable. So nobody ends up in that statistic.
And look, if this has ever happened to you or someone you know, hear me on this. Zero shame. None. This isn't a smart versus dumb thing. A good scam doesn't target your intelligence. It targets your hope. When you've been grinding for months and finally see a message that says, hey, we love your background, let's talk, your brain literally fires off happy chemicals. You want it to be real.
That is 100% spot on. That is purely human. It's not foolish. The person 7 months into a search has their guard down because they've just been watching and waiting for that exact sentence to come their way. And we're just going to add one calm automatic reflex on top of that hope.
And the best part is you don't need a computer science degree to defend yourself. This hits every single industry: healthcare, staffing, delivery drivers, retail, warehouse operations, administrative roles, which means the seatbelt is exactly the same for everybody. You click it in, it costs you nothing, and then you just drive.
So that's the spirit of this half, is to not be afraid.
Here's why I'm totally relaxed about this, and why you should be too. You don't have to memorize 50 different scams. These players, they basically run the same 3 plays. It's like learning to recognize how a street magician does 3 basic card tricks. Once you know where the cards are hiding, the magic's completely gone, JB.
Okay, so go ahead and walk me through like I don't know, a listener, or I'm a 3-year-old and I just don't understand. And you're going to ruin my magic trick as a 3-year-old, so maybe just do it as a listener.
I don't know if this conversation is going to get awkward very quick with JB, but you just talked about a magician and a 3-year-old in a room together. Needless to say, let's
it's a birthday party. Come on. Come on.
I'm just saying.
Kids like magic, as far as I'm aware. I enjoyed magic.
I mean, I enjoy magic.
Young one.
Yes.
So.
All right. So getting back into it, play 1 is the classic. I call it congratulations. We'll pay you for your first routine. It's still the most common one out there. You get hired incredibly fast for a flexible or remote role. And before you've even applied and you got your coffee mug in your hand, you get a finished day 1 onboarding. They send you a check. You're like, wow, this is extremely fast. A real beautiful looking check, sometimes for a few $1,000s. And they say, go buy your home office equipment or uniform from our preferred vendor. Or oops, our payroll department accidentally overpaid you. Just wire the difference back.
Let me do the mechanics on that, because this is one I think people genuinely don't understand. So the FTC is really clear on this. You deposit that check, the bank shows you the money, and here's the trap. Because by law, the bank has to make the funds available to you quickly. But available is not the same as the check is real.
I've been very fortunate. I've never had something like this happen to me as far as, hey, here's the services. I do get a little skeptical with these new AI tools that are coming out, though, in regards to how they recruit and how they set up your PayPal immediately upon standing. So you're like, you apply to the position through an AI website, and then you see that it's like, all right, I need your pay information. And it's always like a PayPal thing. And I'm always like, I'm extremely skeptical because I'm like, why should I put this in here for a job that I haven't even been approved for? What about you, JB? Have you seen anything like this on the streets?
I have not seen this particular one, but it does come to light of a situation where I was trying to sell a car.
Right.
So they were just sending me checks, and they're a little bit over, and it's the same scam, but it was just all they're trying to do is scam my bank account when I was just trying to sell a car. So they're just trying to play that as, hey, we're going to hire you instead of buy something from you.
I immediately think of a Nigerian prince sending me money because he wants to like start up his business here in the United States. Yeah. And he's, hey, just cash this check. And I'm like, bro.
That one too. Yep.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's a definite correlation between these two.
Yep.
It seems like the scam is the same. It's just, it's the attack vector is different.
Basically, yeah, just as a reminder, the check is fake. And it can take the bank weeks to figure out that whole scenario. So you deposit $4,000, you see $4,000. Again, it's not fully processed. So you deposit something or transfer something, you're going to see it hit. But 2 weeks later, the bank goes, hey, that check actually bounced, and yanks the whole amount back out. And now you owe them the money.
So the most important tell of this situation is a real employer never sends you money before you've worked. Wow, what a weird principle that is. Like, why would I give you something for nothing?
Unless you're talking like straight up cash. Then,
yes.
Even then, this could be a little shady. But then if you're dealing with fake cash, then what world are you doing right now?
Well, no, if somebody walks up with a big, like a suitcase full of cash, and they're like, hey, bro, I need you to deposit this. I'd be like, maybe I'll put this under the mattress and hold on to this one for a little bit.
People do like side gigs is what I'm getting at, right?
No,
hey, man, I'll front you this $500 right now, and you go do this work for me, and then you come back, and then I'll give you the other half or something like that. But
I just want to clear the air for the IRS. We would completely report that on all facts and forms. Completely legitimate. I don't want the IRS coming after us, JB, or any of our peers or friends in the industry.
Yeah, they took down the mob, so just saying.
Well, the mob did work with loose money. I'm just saying. Again, I'm not drawing a correlation between these two, but I'm just saying. Okay, let's get this thing back on the tracks. Play number 2 is the modern twist, and it absolutely exploded lately. The FTC calls this task scams. The one doesn't even use email. It just slides right into your text messages or a WhatsApp out of nowhere. It's always super vague. Hi, I saw your profile online. We have a flexible, easy online work. Make $300 to $500 a day just by using your phone. And the job is literally clicking buttons like video games, rating products, optimizing lists. They give you a little profile dashboard and you watch your fake earnings climb.
This is a good one. Those numbers, they are wild, right? The FTC said those task scams basically didn't exist in 2020, which is pretty wild. So they're really trying hard to drive this one. And by the first half of 2024, they were getting something like 20,000 reports, close to 40% of all job scam reports based on this particular scam. And they were the engine behind a huge jump in crypto losses because that's how they get paid. And I got a little side story on this, but I'll let you go on this one.
Now, this one I have seen. I actually have seen this many times, in fact. This one more than any of the other two that we're going to talk about. I've had direct messages on WhatsApp that have hit me directly up. I've had people try to reach me over Teams. They've texted me. They've sent me direct text messages. They've also sent me messages over LinkedIn. And they're generally just saying, hey, we just need this thing done really quick. It's always a fast turnaround. And hey, if you're interested, we will pay you directly right now and take the money schemes. Now, granted, immediately for me, I'm always like, no dice. If I don't know you and you know nothing about me and you're offering to give me money or you're asking me to do a task for cash, not cash, but like digital currency, then why should I trust you?
Yeah, because it's not regulated, anything crypto, so I would avoid that. But for this example, though, the hook on this one is if you do your 40 tasks and the app says you've earned, say, $2,000, then to unlock that cash, to get that out or level up to the better paying tier, you have to put your own money first. So think about that. You have to pay to get your own money. No thanks.
Not unless you're a stock market index. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind paying for stocks, but I know I'm going to get something back. Now, in essence, why would I pay you to pay me? That just seems weird.
So this is the thing. So to get your money out of there and lock it, it's a deposit. You put your money, usually crypto. And of course, once you put the money in, there's always one more level, one more fee, and the cash out never comes.
Now, that says scam all over it for sure. You're paying to get paid.
Yeah, the pay to get paid. That's exactly what the FTC named it. And again, same rule as Play 1. The job does not require you to deposit your own money to receive your wages ever. That's not a job. That's just a scam. And one of the things, just a little side note, there is a company out there and they feel they're an honest job board. And there's all these things that they post. Oh, do this AI work for $70 an hour, $125 an hour. And you're like, cool. You get on this project. It's all cool. You're training AI. The next thing you know, the project gets pulled. I almost did it. I watched it and I was like, nope, project got pulled. Watched another one, project got pulled. I'm like, now did those people even get paid? I don't even know. They might have just stolen work hours with the thought and hope of getting paid. So that's something I want to try to follow up on. But I've seen that type of pattern similar to this.
Here's how this one usually arrives. Because it's so specific, it's almost funny once you've seen it. It's a text out of nowhere. Hi, I'm a recruiter from Indeed. We've got simple remote position, $300 to $500 a day. No experience needed. You just work with apps to boost ratings and reviews. Indeed actually publishes warnings about this. They straight up say they will never text or WhatsApp you a job like this. A real job sends you a notification to go apply on their site. It doesn't slide into your text, offering you $500 to $300 to do video.
So if the platform you trust would never message you that way, a message claiming to be that platform is the scam announcing itself.
Exactly. The brand name on it is the bait, which rolls right into the play there. The quietest one, the one worth knowing because it's so easy to miss. There's no dramatic check or crypto wallet. They just want you. The documents. They post real-looking openings, often impersonating a company you've actually heard of, sometimes cloning a real recruiter's name and photo. The interview's friendly, and then comes the onboarding paperwork. Before you've ever talked to a verifiable human at the real company, they ask you to send your social security number, a photo of your license, and your bank details for direct deposit.
And there's no check to bounce, so there's no obvious moment where it feels wrong.
Right. You have no alarms going off. Everything looks normal. You're just at home thinking, thank God the search is over. I actually got a job. Meanwhile, you just handed your entire financial identity to a stranger. The Better Business Bureau study showed that a third of all job scam victims handed over a driver's license and a quarter gave up their social security number. That is the play working exactly as designed.
Notice all three of these plays, they share one DNA. They rush you. They ask you to send something, money or a deposit or your identity, before you've verified who you're talking to, which is great news actually, because it means one set of habits shuts down all three.
So let's give people the defense. I want it to be the opposite of paranoid. What does a calm, smart job seeker do by default?
So 3 habits, none of them technical. Habit 1, we already said. So I'll say it once more because it's the king. Money only moves toward you. Never pay to get a job. You never deposit a check and send part of it on. You never put your own money in to unlock earnings. The FTC's line is blunt. Honest employers, including the government, will never ask you to pay to get a job. So if money is leaving your pocket during the hiring process, that's not a job. That's a full stop.
All right. The train's moving on the tracks right now. Jump into habit 2, JV.
Verify the employer yourself. Remember, we provided OSINT, so you have the tool to be able to do that. And the keyword is do that yourself. And the scammer will happily give you a phone number, an email, a link, a website, all of it controlled by them. So don't use any of it. If Memorial Health Staffing emails you, you go independently. So search the real company, find their actual careers page or main phone number and ask, do you have a recruiter named so-and-so? Is this posting real? The reason you want to ask somebody is because sometimes their websites don't have the correct postings or things like that. They might actually have a job. I looked at one, clicked on it, their career page didn't even work. I would actually have to call the company and say, hey, do you have any opening? That's why we're saying if you really are interested, call. I know it sounds a little odd because people aren't used to having to do that. So I really want to emphasize that part. It's okay to do so is really what I'm getting at, to call people and validate. The FTC even suggests searching the company or person's name plus the word scam or complaint. So that's the other aspect. Take 30 seconds, and a lot of these have a trail.
I would say do this if it's a job that you're seriously considering and it looks any kind of suspect at all. Just look up the company or the person posting the job by the email and just do a quick search to see if there's any scam reports. I would say that the cheap tells inside that. The email address itself is often an indicator of this, JB. Go ahead.
That's a huge one. A real company recruiter emails you from the company's actual domain, not a personal Gmail or Yahoo, and not from something almost right, like the company name with an extra word or dash in it. I actually had that happen to me once when I started the job search pretty heavily back in February. A person reached out to me. They scanned the profile of the person, the name and everything. I found the person on LinkedIn. I was like, that's interesting. I went and looked at the email. It was Gmail. I was like, that's weird. I actually found that person on their website, found their email and said, hey, this isn't actually you, right? And they're like, nope, it's not me. We don't have anything like that. And I was like, cool, just so you're aware, that's what's going on. And we just kind of stopped the conversation, but I validated first. So if a Fortune 500 recruiter is emailing you from a personal account, that is your answer. It's free to check it and it catches a ton of them. Just look at your email headers.
All right. So we can be 3 out of 3. To close this third one out for us, JB.
Guard your documents until the offer is real and in writing. Your social security number, your bank account, photos of your license or passport, none of that comes out during interviews at all. Just wait till the very end. A legitimate employer collects that after you've accepted a written, verified offer through a real payroll or HR system. Keep in mind, it has come through a payroll HR system, not over text, not on WhatsApp, not in a chat window. So if onboarding paperwork shows up before a real offer, especially over a messaging app, that's the play. Slow down right there.
And there are a couple of Indeed's own tips I want to add because they're dead simple and they close 2 more doors. 1, insist on an actual interview, in person or video. Indeed's guidance literally says real employers want to talk to you before they hire you. So be careful if anyone offers you a job with no interview or only ever talks to you through a chat app. If you've been hired and you've never seen or heard a human being, that's a problem. These are great points. And the reason I'm reading them verbatim is because I think they're so on point. You should always have in-person interviews via video if you can do them, and then potentially never respond to anything over any kind of text, WhatsApp, or any kind of digital app. You got anything to say to that, JB?
It's pretty accurate from my experience. Every level has been pretty much in person or virtually in person. So there's no reason they can't provide that to you. But moving through this into the bait and switch.
Right. When the offer comes, check that the same job you actually applied for. Now, I've had this happen countless times to me where I've had a job that was listed. I applied to the job. I get into the interview and then they say the title. And I'm almost like, what? Excuse me, say that again. What was the title? So it'd be like, I applied for a cybersecurity engineer and now I'm interviewing for a cybersecurity analyst. Scammers will run real looking postings to collect applicants and they'll offer you something completely different, a vaguer, higher paying work from home thing. If the role you're suddenly being offered doesn't match the one that you applied to, slow down, pump the brakes.
There's one more on Indeed's do not do this list that we'd like to flag because it's sneaky and it can get you into legal trouble, just not broke. If a job involves opening a bunch of accounts on different sites or posting ads or receiving packages or reshipping them for a company you've never verified, walk away. Unless you've genuinely worked in hiring or logistics, that's almost always you being used as a middleman for somebody else's fraud.
There's a couple of small ones that just lower your exposure across the board, right?
Yeah, so 2 easy ones. Keep your full street address off the resume that you post publicly. Your city and state plus a way to reach you is all a real recruiter needs. Nobody needs your exact address to read your work history, and consider a separate email just for job hunting. If one sketchy job board leaks, it's not tied to your whole life. Small one-time setup pays off forever.
And watch the speed. Just be very cognizant of how fast things are moving.
This might be the most human tell of all of them. Scammers are always in a hurry. They want to skip the real steps, offer you the job over a 10-minute text chat, get you onboarded by tomorrow morning. It's all that urgency. Remember, scammers are all about trying to get urgency and fear or get you distracted, get you excited. So real hiring, for better or worse, moves with some friction, which we've all experienced. 6 rounds just to get a job. So the slow pace of that is the way forward. So if an offer lands faster than a fast food order and everything's urgent and everything's over text, that pace itself is the warning. So slowing down costs you nothing. And it's the one thing every one of these scams can't survive.
Okay, but some people listening to our podcast, this has already happened. What do they do? Where do they go from there, JB? How do they handle this?
All right. First, if the money has moved, especially a check, call your bank's fraud line immediately. The number on the back of your card, not later. Don't do that later at all. Just the sooner you can get that locked in with them, the better it is for you. Speed genuinely matters with fake checks. So if you sent identity documents, you could put a free fraud alert or a credit freeze on your file with all 3 of the bureaus, right? The FTC walks you through an identity theft recovery plan at the site called identitytheft.gov.
It's very important that you report this, even if you're super embarrassed. I know we've all had certain things that had happened where we'd had to call our banks in regards to embarrassing moments. But the key is the speed and accuracy to what you're reporting as soon as it happens.
Report it to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Report it to the Better Business Bureau scam tracker. And of course, to your state attorney general's consumer office. And here's the reframe that makes it feels good instead of shameful. Reporting isn't admitting you got. It's flagging the trap for the next person on the trail. Every report helps somebody just like you spot it a second sooner.
So to bring the whole hour home, because the 2 halves really say one thing, don't they, JB?
They do. And the whole hour is one message, and that message is go. The work the country needs the most is the work that requires you. And it's more reachable than the noise admits. That was the first half. The second half is just the confidence to chase it freely, because now you know the few simple moves that keep you safe while you do. It's not go but be afraid. It's go and you've got this.
Here's the whole episode in one breath. Money moves toward you. Verify it yourself. Guard your documents and slow down. 4 habits. Click them in like a seatbelt and forget about them.
And remember what the guy with all the labor data said. The whole answer is more human contact, not less. The handle's broken. We've never pretended otherwise. But the way through has always been the same. Find where the real need is, where that gap is. Move toward it with confidence and keep what you earn. And one thing we're going to keep an eye on. Lightcast has a dedicated skills trade analysis coming in August. So I really like this report. I like to follow up with that one around skills trades. So we'll be coming back and digging into it. And the trades are a world we don't talk about enough.
But next time we're doing something a little different. We're talking about betting on yourself. Not the motivational poster version, the honest one.
We pulled together the lessons from 2 people who could not look more different on paper. A 21-season NBA point guard and a Chick-fil-A operator out of Brooklyn. And they landed on the same handful of truths. Reinvention is a skill you practice, not a leap that you take once. You start thinking like an owner before anyone hands you ownership. And the win isn't doing more yourself, it's building something that can stand without you.
2 very different worlds, same playbook. That's the next time.
So until then, stay with it and be good yourself. You're not alone, the work is real, and it's more within reach than the noise wants you to believe.
And if any of this helped, do us a massive favor. Follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere. And leave a quick review. Provide any kind of feedback. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we can improve. It's the single biggest thing that helps the next person find the show.
You can find us on all the socials at Broken Handle Pod, and every episode's written breakdown, links, resources, the whole checklist lives free at thebrokenhandle.com. So go grab it.
That's what we know.
What you do with it is up to you.
Quick legal. The Broken Handle hosts speak personally, not for any current or past employer. Guests share their own views. Their appearance is not an endorsement of their services or business. Commentary on companies, recruiters, and hiring practices is opinion. Nothing here, from hosts or guests, is career, legal, financial, or medical advice. Consult a licensed professional for those matters.